Hi everyone. In the last video we made a simple HTTP server. In this video we're going to be talking about HTTP methods. So our server is still running and let's do a quick curl hello world. So if you look at our code all over again, the R or the request argument defines a variable called method. So it states what method you're reaching the server by. So you do a quick go run and then I do a curl. It's gonna say get. So what am I talking about here? So we're talking about HTTP methods. So if we take a look at this all over again, whenever a client tries to make a request to the API, how does the API know what kind of request it is? Is it an update request? Is it a delete request? Does the client want to fetch something? Does the client want to remove something? So those are defined by HTTP methods. So if you do a localhost 3000, if my API is running on localhost 3000, my web applications can say, okay, I want to get this resource. So by default, curl sends get requests. If you open any website, if you open GitHub or Google or any website, then by default, the browser also sends a get request. Which means that if we go on localhost 3000 over here and we go on get going, then it's gonna say hello world. Because we reached a server and in this case our browser was acting as a client, but when we were testing over here, curl was acting like a client. So curl also has this property where we can define what methods we want to send by our -x flag. So I can say I want to send a post request. So it's gonna send a post request. So let's take a look at the different types of headers that you can supply. So if you take a look at this article over here, we can see that we've got get request, post request, put and delete request. So when we are talking about APIs, the request that we are going to use most of the time is get, post, put and delete. So get request is when you want to retrieve some information. A post request is something where you want to post some data either securely, or if you want to post the data insecurely, then you can always use get. So what happens is that if you take a look at web pages, then we have forms. So what happens is whenever we fill forms, we have a choice of any method that we want. But if we do a post request on form submission, then those parameters that we enter inside of the forms, the arguments, are not going to be shown in the URL parameters. But when we do a get, then those parameters are going to be shown in the URL. So if you're talking about form submissions, then post is the way to go. If you're talking about insecure submissions, then get is the way to go. And post, and we have a put. So put changes the representation of what currently exists in our model layer, which essentially means is that, okay, if I created a blog and I need to submit a new blog or update the current blog with the new submission, then I can do that easily by a put request. And a delete request is where I want to delete anything. So I request all of you to download this Postman. So like we were doing with our curl command, and we were doing with the browser, where our browser was acting like a client, Postman can also act like a client. We can simply do a localhost 3000 and we can do a get going and a get request, and it's gonna submit. One more thing I want to talk about is how multiplexing in Go works. So when we're talking about route multiplexing, let's see what happens when we remove the slash and we just have a get going. So you do a curl on get going hello world. You do a curl on get going slash. It's gonna say page not found because it matches the slash also. So take care while developing your APIs that it's also going to match the slash. Now one more cool thing about this is that if you do a slash and then you do a go run, then it's gonna match the closest thing before the slash. So it's gonna match get going slash, it's gonna match anything that I type after that, and it's gonna multiplex it or route it back to slash get going, because note that we didn't define anything after get going slash. So if we were to do so, I'm just gonna copy these lines and I'm gonna paste it. and I'm just gonna say if request comes on get going slash go, then do something other than hello world, do hello world go. Now let's see what happens. Now if I go to get going slash go, it's gonna match the exact route. But if we go to get going slash anything other than that, then it's gonna match the base route, which is get going. So base route is the keyword which you need to know moving forward. So thank you guys for watching this video. In the next video, we're going to be talking more about how we can do submissions with get and post, and how we can access the data from our clients. So see you guys in the next video. Stay tuned.